Jack Betts writes for the Charlotte Observer, and he's seen a budget battle or two around these parts. Jack, good to have you on.
Good to be with you, Kelly.
Harold Brubaker, the representative who wrote this budget in large part, says historical transparency on this budget bill. Is he right?
I give them good marks on that point. While they stumbled early with some closed session briefings of legislators, I think in the main they were trying to do what they campaigned on, which is to bring a new level of transparency. The proof of the pudding, of course, will be in the conference committee when they resolve differences between the House and the Senate version once the Senate does its. But I was struck yesterday, they went on all day long with amendment after amendment, and I remember times when there was a couple hours of a debate. More often the Senate would go that short, and then that would be it, when you might have, a legislator might have had the budget bill a day or 2 days. And these folks had 4 or 5 days to study on it. That's for a budget this big, that's not a lot of time, but it's more time than previously.
So in the aggregate, put all that budget together in one package as it stands right now. If you're a North Carolinian, what are you getting in this deal?
Well, you were seeing two things. And I was struck by this listening to debate yesterday. Republicans have kept a campaign promise that helped get them elected, which was that they would adopt a budget in a transparent fashion and that it would be balanced without tax increases. And that would not only reduce spending, but would limit the size of government. I think if you like those promises, you're going to like the House budget. If you have children in public schools or a student, a child or son or daughter who's taking training at community colleges or close to getting a degree in the university system, or who needs help with mental health programs, you may not be so happy. In fact, I think, there are problems there.
But wait a minute. There are people with kids in schools and kids in college and getting mental health, and they want smaller government, reduced spending, no new taxes. Is it, either or?
I think they will see in time the impact of what they voted for. I think you're right. Voters asked for this. They asked for a different way of doing things. They asked for, in the manner that they cast their vote, smaller government, balanced budget, and they're getting it. But I think the impact of that is going to come clear, and they'll have second thoughts about it.
But what do you get if you have second thoughts? The Republicans say the state government can't continue as it's going. Even many Democrats said changes were coming.
Clearly right.
Mandate fulfilled on House Bill 200.
And a lot of these changes would come anyhow, even if Democrats had hung on. But I think these changes the cuts are deeper because Republicans really meant what they said. They wanted not just a balanced budget, they wanted smaller government, and one way to do it was to make these changes. And of course, they're also changing the way government agencies report. I think the governor will come out of this legislature with fewer powers
So fundamental changes
than the governors had before. Wow. There will be all kinds of changes in what agencies, who they report to.
Is this a fulfilled mandate? This budget bill reflect all the promises rolled into one bill?
It is much closer to that than I had thought was likely to happen when this legislature began. I remember talking to Speaker Tillis back in December, and he said, we got to remember we can't change 200 years of history in one legislative session. And he was certainly right on that. But Republicans are enthusiastic about making as many changes as they can right now. Not everything they are attempting to do is going to go through, but a great many things are. So I think many Republicans will feel like they have done what the public elected them to do.
Do you see a veto coming as is on this budget?
I think that's highly possible. I don't know that I see it coming. Right. And I think a lot will depend on the Senate, which is going to change some things. They're going to, it appears that Senate leaders want to go less harshly on the university system, which will get them a lot of support, I think. But also, they think the House spends too much money in its budget, and they will, went beyond the spending targets that Appropriations Committee chairs agreed to back when. So they'll cut it some more, I think.
Well, if the Senate and the House are working together on the House bill, then how can there be that many differences at this point?
Well, they were working together early on, but I think they were working together more in February and March than they have been in April and early May. And people don't often understand that in Raleigh, the rivalries are not just between Democrats and Republicans. They're also between the legislature and the executive branch of government, and it doesn't matter which party's in control. And it's also Senate versus House. We saw this particularly when Mark Basnight was longtime president pro tem, and Jim Black was Speaker of the House. They were outwardly friendly, but there was a lot of jockeying back and forth, and I think we're going to see the Senate tinkering with the House budget, maybe more than just a little tinkering.
I was going to ask you how much of the Senate flavor would be in the House bill, even though the House has handled this bill above board. They're out there with what they're proposing.
Senator Neil Hunt, Republican of Wake County, has already shown some differences with the House over what to do with More at 4 and Smart Start, for example. These are hard questions. There are a good many places to put government agencies, and they're like noses. Everybody's got a different opinion about what to do with it.
Layoff numbers. The Democrats have posted, I remember former Speaker Hackney says 20,000 is a conservative estimate. It's going to be more than that, people losing their jobs. I've asked this question before. Who do you buy into this? The Republicans who say all these state jobs are funded and mostly vacant positions are eliminated, or the Democrats who say, yep, the vacant jobs are gone and so are a lot of existing state workers?
Yeah. Some have projected as many as 30,000 workers gone, but I think a lot of those jobs have not been filled. Speaker Tillis said in the end we might be talking about just 7,000 persons laid off. That's still a sizable number of people, and it is more reflective of what has happened in business and private employment over the last few years. A lot of people have lost their jobs, and out of this budget, we're going to see a lot of people losing their jobs one way or the other. I think it probably won't be anywhere near 20,000 people losing their jobs, but we'll see a lot of jobs eliminated, and that practice that Democrats used for a long time of fully funding all the jobs but not hiring for them was one way you cushioned your end of the fiscal year blow if revenues did not come in, and I think Republicans don't see much value in that.
Jack Betts, Charlotte Observer, thanks for being on the show this week. You can also Google Jack Betts and find quite a number of articles out there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.